And we'll see how that works. All right, so I'm just going to go over the review that's on here, and then I can pop back and hit any other questions you may have.
Sounds good.
Takes a minute to make it come up. I should probably pull the answer key as well, because sometimes there are mistakes with the answer key. Everyone's feeling ill today. I had the electric blanket on. That felt good. Keep that up, and then I'll open this in here. That's not it. There's a more thing. Shoot. I don't know what it's opening. I've been having trouble with my file download. That was not what I wanted. Give it a minute to load all my CFCC stuff. If I can open it on Edge, I can write on it. There we go. It's in. Have you looked through the midterm at all?
Yes.
All right. So hopefully as we get to stuff, it'll trigger things and you'll remember. You'll be like, oh yeah, I had trouble with that. A lot of them I'll be able to do right on here. Some of them I will have to do on our whiteboard just because they take too much space. If someone else should not be there. All right. I should get my calculator out at the same time. I had a student ask me to record it. I'm trying, but I have no idea what the recording will look like.
Yeah, it's
All
recording.
Right. It's recording. Okay. I have no idea how long it'll be or what if it records the screen. I don't know. It'll be interesting. All right. So the first problem on the test is going to be very similar to this. They're going to tell you we have a student living on $1,200 a month. He is spending 30% on rent, 20% on food, 25% on bills, and 15% on fun. So I get a lot of people who put the percents in here. That's the first thing to caution. Because we don't have a box for percents. So like if you wanted to put it out here and say, okay, rent is 30%, 20 is food, 25 is on bills, 15 is on fun. And actually by doing this, it shows me something. It shows me that I don't have the percent for other, and I absolutely need the percent for other. So I'm going to add up those that I have. So 30 plus 20 is 50, plus 25 is 75. I'm trying to see how much it's going to be. I had 75 plus 15, I think is 90, but I get lost that one, right? So that what percent does that leave for other then? We want our total to be 100%. So what would I put in other? Under my green percents, but what percent is other? You want your percent to be 100, so take 100 minus the 90, because that's what the other one's totaled up to be, and I have 10%. So again, this chart doesn't give you a space for that. And then a lot of people try to jump right from there into graphing. Don't do that. We need to find the percent or the degrees and the actual amount. If you're doing the degrees first, you multiply the percent by 360. When you do the budget, you're going to multiply the percent by, I forgot what their income was, 1,200. So I'll do the circle degree first because that's actually the most important part when it comes to graphing it. So I know for rent, I have 30%, so that's 0.30 times 360. Any questions on where that number is coming from?
No.
All right, because I think that's actually the hardest part is remembering the 360. And then I hit enter, and I get 108. So that's what goes here in the circle degrees. Do the same thing with each other percent. So take 0.20 times 360, and I get 72. I can take 0.25 times 360, calculator always tends to run a little slow. I get 90. That's gonna be a fun one to draw because 90 is pretty easy in terms of degrees. I'm gonna take 0.15 times 360. And I get 54. That doesn't look like a 5. We'll fix that one. And then let me get my calculator back up. We'll do 10%, so 0.10 times 360. Hit enter. And I get 36 degrees. Honestly, that's all you need to do the graph. And I think I will go ahead and graph it from here, and then we'll go back and find the budget amount because you don't actually need the number for the budget amount. So rent was 108 degrees. They give you a circle and it's counting by tens. So if I go to 90, I can count 90, 100, 110. So my line should go somewhere right about here, not quite to 110. And that is rent. And then oops, I need my red back. It's helpful if you write those numbers on the side because it helps you remember where you left off, because to get the next one, we have to add on to where we left off. So food is 72 degrees, so I'm going to add 72 to 180. And you can throw that in your calculator, or to 108. You can throw that in your calculator if you need to. It does give you 180, which is really nice. That's one of the marked ones for us. So that just drops straight down. Horrible straight lines. That is food. And the 180 is even there. I don't have to write it again. Now I go to 180 and I add 90 to get the bills. So plus 90. 180 plus 90 is 270. It's another nice one. That is the bills. And it's nice that's a 290 again because I don't have to write the number. If the number is not written, I should write it. But it happened to hit right on the line, which was nice. 270 plus 54 will give me my fun. So 270 plus 54 is 324. So I do have to count the time. 270, 280, 290, 300, 310, 320, 330. So right in between 310 and 330. This is fun. We said that was 324. And then the rest is other. Trying to change my colors. It's getting glitchy. To do this one. You don't have to add on to it. It doesn't hurt to check it. So if I take 324 plus 36, I do get to 360. Questions on drawing it?
Nope.
All right. And then don't forget to find the amounts of the last column here that we have blank. We'll do this in lavender, and I would do purple. Purple's deeper. So I'm taking whatever the percent was times 1200. So I'm going to take 0.30, which is the same as 0.3 times 1200. And I get 360 on budget. And again, you can continue putting these in your calculator. I think I can do these in my head. I think this one is 240, but again, you do 0.20 times 1200. If I make a mistake, yell at me. I think this one's 300. I don't think I can do 15% in my head. I can do 10% in my head, but I can't do 15%. So 0.15 times 1200. $180. So the red is degrees, the purple is dollars, and the green is percent. Questions on the circle graph? You are going to be asked to interpret a circle graph. So where they give you some information, and it's very similar to this one. It might even be the same graph, but they ask you a different state, and they do ask you to round to the nearest whole number. So this has nothing to do with the 360. It has to do with the fact that they told you in this problem that there are 36 Super Bowls, which just means it's way behind. It's a little outdated. We need to fix that. This problem is asking for Louisiana. I see down here that Louisiana is 25%, so 0.25 of the total number of Super Bowls they gave me. When I throw that into my calculator, I believe I get 9. But use caution. If you get something weird, make sure you round it to the nearest whole number. So if you get 2.3, it's 2. If you get 2.8, that'd be 3. So use caution with that. And make sure you're doing your decimals right. Make sure all of your percents are being converted to decimals. California would be 0.27. Georgia would be 0.06. Texas 0.03, etc. Questions on number 2? All right. 3 on the actual test, I think, is a little longer, but it's something with reading a bar graph. So we're estimating, and so as long as you're in the right ballpark, we'll be good. The percent of Americans who fear public speaking, that's the orange bar. If I read the orange bar where it is, it looks to be about 20%. As long as you're in the right ballpark. If you're way off, then that'll be off. As far as showing your work, the more work you show, the better. If your answer is right, you're going to get full credit. If your answer is wrong and you have work shown, I might be able to get some partial credit. If there's just no answer or the answer is completely wrong with no work shown, then I don't know. I can't give any partial credit. Questions on 3? All right. Number 4 says, a survey asked a group of 60 high school students what sports they like to play. They liked soccer and baseball, so put an S and a BB for basketball. And then the middle is 12, like both. That's where you start. When they give you the both, you start with that number. It goes right in the middle. The trick with this one is they did not tell me that 43 people only liked soccer. That means when I asked for soccer, 43 people raised their hand, but 12 of those people raised their hand again for basketball because they liked both. So we have to make sure we take account of the people we are overcounting. So for the soccer side, I'm going to take 43 minus the 12 who raised their hands for everything. How many like only soccer? Any guesses? No guesses?
31.
Thank you. I'm glad you did that because I almost said the wrong answer. I almost said 41. Brain's not working. Basketball, we had 27. But again, we have to subtract out the 12 of those people who are like everything. How many like basketball only?
15.
15. And then we make sure we finish with that number outside the circles but inside the box. How many students didn't raise their hand? They didn't like anything. Well, to do that, you have to add 3 numbers and then subtract it from 60. I don't know if I do that with my head. There are 43, 53, 58. Someone verify that for me.
Correct.
Okay. I get in trouble when doing stuff in my head. I would never do stuff in my head on an actual test. So we have 2 people who didn't raise their hands for either. Questions on the Venn diagram? All right. We're going to come back and do 5. I have to do 5 on the whiteboard just because it takes so much space. Mean, median, mode. You can do this in your calculator or you can add them up. I'll show you how to do it both ways. I wish I could. Can't remember my calculator though. That's the problem. All right, I have to remember the numbers. So I go to my stat button. Well, let's do it the old-fashioned way first. Let's do it the normal way. Because if you don't have a graphing calculator, you'll need to do it the old way. I need to add up all these scores. So 8 plus 3 plus 6 plus 9. 8 plus 3 plus 6 plus 9. I'm trying to remember because my calculator will cover it. 8 plus 3 plus 6 plus 9. There are 10, 5, 8, and 6, and then I should be able to see it. I hate when it doesn't push up. That is not where I wanted the plus. It wasn't. It's getting very glitchy. I don't know if it's because I'm recording. I should turn my video off, I guess, for now. That's 9. So now, of course, I've forgotten what the other numbers were. 10, 5, 8, 6.
The total is 90.
Thank you. So we would take the 90 divided by how many data pieces were there? I'm gonna cover it.
13.
Okay, I guess I'm getting to. Everyone agree?
Yep.
Thank you. So it's 6.923. They asked me to round to 1 decimal place. So that'd be 6.9. That's the mean. I don't have quite enough space to write this here. Let's do mode before we do median, because mode is whatever occurs the most. So you look through it and you see what's repeating. I see 8 several times. Is there anything that repeats more than 8? 5 is twice. Where's 9? It looks like it's 8 to me. Does anyone see anything different?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I always struggle with mode. I shouldn't. It should be one of the easier ones to do. Let's see, there's a couple questions.
I always struggle with median. Does you have to like place them in order?
Right. And you can do it without placing them in order. And that's the way I actually do it. I cross off pairs. I cross off high and low pairs. So if I cross off, what's the lowest number in the list?
3.
3. So I cross off a 3, and its counterpart is going to be the highest number. What's the highest number?
11.
I'm going to cross this off. I'm going to do pairs in different colors so you can see how each pair is being put together. From what's left, what's the lowest number?
4.
What's the highest?
10.
We're going to keep doing this until we get down to 1 or 2 numbers. And then I'll show you how to do it in the calculator. What's the lowest?
Stop. 5.
And what's the highest?
8.
I think there's a 9. Yeah, there's a 9.
9. Uh-huh.
Part of why, not crossing any row, part of why I do it this way is because I'd have to be checking them off anyway if I was rewriting the problem. So I'm like, I kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Looking at the numbers that are left, what is the highest number?
8.
8. What's the lowest?
5. Again.
Yep. So there were 2 5s, but I still think we had more 3s. All right.
I'm sorry, what are you solving right now? I'm sorry.
I need the median.
Okay.
What's the highest?
8.
8. What's the lowest?
5 again.
5. Is there another 5? No, we crossed our 5s off already. So what's lowest of what's left?
6.
6.
Oh, 6.
Yeah, once something's crossed off, you can't again. Out of what's left, we're almost done. We got 3 numbers left. This is the last time we cross off. What's the highest?
8.
What's the lowest?
6. So it'd be 7.
7, yep. And again, if you've got a graphing calculator, it will find mean and median for you. And I'm going to show you how to do that as well. This is the old school how to do it by hand way.
Can I ask you a question really quick that's not related to this? I'm sorry, just so I don't forget. I can't, for the lesson that was due this morning, lesson 2-7, I think it was. When I try to find the square root to get the deviation.
Standard deviation, yeah.
Yes. It doesn't, neither one of my calculators, I don't know if I missed the class where I'm supposed to do a certain something, but neither one of my calculators is giving me the correct answers.
Like, let's say we had 9.05 in here, and I wanted to take the square root of it. The way this is one of your calculators a graphing calculator?
I have a TI-83.
Yeah, okay, that should work this way. So the problem with this is I can't take the square root here. So I'm going to clear that out, and I have to hit second square root, which is on the x squared button. And then I would type in the 9.05.
Oh.
I'll tell you why I cheat in a second too. I'm like most mathematicians. I look for shortcuts.
Thank you.
So something that we don't teach in here, but you may remember from a past algebra class, is that the square root is the same as the half power. So if I take that 9.05 in parentheses, and you don't have to ever do it this way, this is my cheating way because I think it's easier to type in, and raise it to the half power or 0.5 power, that will also take square roots.
I'm sorry, how do I raise it to the half power?
I'm sorry?
The little
The carrot,
how do I raise it to the half power? Is
the carrot that's under the clear button. Looks like a triangle missing its bottom.
And then put
Oh,
in
okay.
0.5.
Mm-hmm. Because it's a
Oh,
half.
thank you.
It's my shortcut way of doing it. Because I mean, for years I had graphing calculators that didn't have like fraction buttons built onto it and stuff. So yeah,
I found it.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna. This
Oh,
was
no.
completely unrelated. I found a TI something calculator in this property I cleaned out the other day, and I was so happy about
cool.
it. But I don't even know about that.
I had another student who had the same thing happen in the spring. So now if we want to make our calculator do this, it won't do mode, but it will do mean and median. I am going to hit stat, S-T-A-T, and I'm going to edit first. I want to type the data in. So, and I probably have stuff in there because I've been using this a lot. So I'm going to arrow up and highlight L1 and hit clear, enter to clear out the list. So we went to the stat button is right to the left of the gray arrows. So I push the stat button and that gets me into all things statistics. The only stuff we will do in here is edit number 1, and then right now calc number 1, and then we'll get to calc number 4 in the second half. So edit is how you get to your list. Is everyone starting with L1, L2, L3? Because it's easy to accidentally delete them and it's easy to get them back if you are.
Yes, but mine doesn't have the 1 in parentheses next to it.
That's okay. It may not. Yours,
No.
it's slightly older. All right, so let's type in our data, 8369. If you see me type something wrong, yell at me. 83, so I'm gonna type in 8, enter, 3, enter, 6, enter, 9, I hate it, keeps doing that, same place. 9, enter. 10, 5, 8.
I'm very sorry. I'm so sorry. Can you tell me one more time? I hit stat and then I
Enter.
lost it.
Enter.
Stat, enter. Okay, I'm so sorry. Thank
That
you.
should get, no, it's fine. I have keeping the numbers in my head. That should get you to the list. Is your list blank or is there something in your list right now?
No, my list is blank.
Perfect. So you already start typing the data in and it started, and I keep going back here. We had 8369, 10, 5, 8, 6. So I can scroll up for you for a second because it's partially covered.
Thank you very much. 8, 6, 8,
3, 6, 9, 10, 5, 8, 6. And I think 7 is next. I'm looking at my list correctly. 7,
5, 8, 6, 5.
11. I love these calculators. I think they're so fun.
They are. Once you know how to do them, they are.
They're a powerful tool.
I never knew there was calculators like this ever.
Yeah, they're like
Right.
hand computers. All right. Once you have the list typed in, you go back to the stat button. Because again, that's where all my statistics menus live. So stat. This time I want to calculate something. So I move my arrow, I use my gray arrow so that calculate or calc is highlighted. And right now all I'm doing is number 1. Right before the final, we'll do number 4. We'll teach number. Questions on getting to this page.
Get down.
So I'm going to hit enter here because I want to calculate one variable statistics. An older calculator may not have what mine shows. It may just go right to the answers. This was a more recent thing they started doing. And the very top number there, 6.9 is my mean.
I only have one variable stat, so my list isn't on there.
Hit enter.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
The calculator's crazy. And just as a little heads up, something that we weren't doing when we did this, but we've done since then, the little circle with the tail on it, that's your standard deviation. So the standard deviation is probably 2.27. They're not asking for that here, but it does calculate it's the same way. I need to scroll down to find my medium.
I was just about to ask where's the median, but I found it.
Yep, 7. And it will not do mode for you.
Oh, it tells you. Oh, that is so cool.
And there's a lot. And again, for those who are going on to stats, there's a whole bunch of stuff you'll learn with this. I saw that scheduling started Monday, so if you have questions, feel free to stick around at some point and ask me. If you're taking stat 13, Mark Early is phenomenal. If you can get him, that's very good. I'm trying to figure out what class my daughter's going to take. My youngest, I'd love to get on 1350, but I think she needs to do college algebra, which annoys me, but that's okay. All right, 7, you can do the old plug and chug method. Again, if you don't have a graphing calculator, that is the way you will have to do it. So you just go to your regular calculator and you type in 17,000 minus 1,500 times, I think the first year in the table was 0. And it says, oh, the initial value of the car was 17,000, which I probably should have known without having to plug all that in, but that's okay. I kind of like this because this is what we start doing again after the test. We do equations of lines. And then you can go back to your calculator and do the same equation. But instead of a 0, replace it with a 1. And that's what I mean by plug and chug. You're just doing each one separately. 15,500. And some of you are probably picking up on a pattern that way is not writing most sorry. That you're like, oh, it's just subtract. That looks horrible. I can erase it and make my number. I put too many zeros for one thing. 15,500. For those who came in late, I was telling people who first got here, I had my COVID vaccine yesterday and my flu shot. And I felt great when I woke up this morning because I was like, yes, I avoided it because I almost always get reactions to it. And right about the 18-hour mark after having it, I was like, I feel terrible. I'm all shivery and I'm bundled up in a blanket. So.
You got both at the same time?
I did.
Oh,
I've never had an
yeah,
issue with flu shot.
That's pretty rough.
Flu shot does not hurt me at all, but the COVID does. The only COVID shot I did not react to was my very first one, and then I had COVID, and ever since I had COVID, I have fever and achiness. I'm like, I hurt. I feel whiny. So I've taken Tylenol. That was the one thing the pharmacist said. I've always taken Advil, and she recommended Tylenol because Advil will suppress your inflammatory response, and you actually want an inflammatory response to help. That's how it helps immunity. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to stick with Tylenol. Anyway, I felt so good yesterday. It's one of those things where you're like, why am I doing this? I feel good, and then I take it and I feel terrible. But it's like, I know it's better than having COVID, and my partner has a severe high risk. I'm fairly high risk, so I'm like, I'll keep doing it.
How long will you feel that way?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I have a class at 9 tomorrow. I was trying to decide if I should get up for it. I should be better by tomorrow afternoon.
I hope you get better now.
Yeah, it's like, it's not horrible. I have a headache, and I'm like, so I will probably sleep 11 or 12 hours tonight. When I had COVID, I was sleeping over 13 hours a day. It was crazy.
Oh yeah. When I had COVID, I slept and I didn't eat, and I lost like 10 pounds. It was insane.
Yes. The first thing that I craved, because I had it early on, I had it in 21. I craved jelly donuts. That was the first thing I wanted. So
I love
I've always craved sweet stuff. Yeah. So my son's texting me. He's in Minneapolis from school. He's been texting me, and he's like, I'm feeling really fatigued. I'm really tired. Well, he was just home this weekend because my oldest got married, and my ex-husband's girlfriend tested positive Monday for COVID. I'm like, dude, because he's thinking it's anxiety. I'm like, you should get COVID tested first. You were around Lori. No, I don't think that's it. Okay, whatever. Do whatever you want. So, and I've tested for COVID and I'm negative, so I know that. My youngest is at Dad's house waiting to see if they come down with it before she comes back here. It's an adventure. So some of you may have picked up, like, rather than just plug and chug, it's subtracting 1,500 each time. So you're like, oh, I can just do 15,500 minus 1,500, and it's gonna be 14,000. Or you can do the plug and chug. And the other way, if you've got a graphing calculator, you can make it do the table for you, and it'll be a bigger table on the test. That's one thing I will tell you. Some of these are shortened just to give you the idea of how to do things. It will be probably 6 or 7 that you have to fill in. If you push the Y equals button under the big screen on your graphing calculator is all your graphing buttons. Y equals is how we would first start typing in an equation. You may have something in there, so make sure you hit clear and clear it out. It should, yeah, just clear works.
There's the Y.
Yes, just to the bottom left. I keep getting spam from some 330 numbers. They've been calling me for like 24 hours. It's very weird. And then type in the equation they gave us, the 17,000 minus 1,500. Now you got to get an X. You can't just leave it like that. The X is the button next to the green alpha button. So type the X. I'm gonna hit enter, and you'll see your pretty little equation will be there.
I'm sorry.
And I think
how do I? Okay, just go down to the one and start typing.
Yeah,
So
but I think I have a mistake. I think I used the wrong negative sign. I'm almost sure I used the negative. You want to use the minus on the side. Yeah, I recognized it because it's bigger. If you do the negative at the bottom, you're actually telling your calculator to multiply. You're saying multiply. It would have been you would have recognized real quick that it was crazy. Questions on
is that a
entering?
multiplication sign? I'm sorry.
No, it's
Is
X,
that
X. So the X button, to make your calculator type in an X, it's next to the green alpha. You don't need to push the green alpha, but next to the green alpha, there's a button that says XT theta N, and
yes, ma'am.
that's your variable. Cool.
Thank you.
All right, let's set up our table. So again, all the graphing and table tools are right under the big screen at the top. If I read the gray ones across, I have Y equals, window, zoom, trace, and graph. If I read the blue written ones, and it may be different on an 83, but it's probably yellow, I'm guessing. You'll see stat plot, table set. Oh, that sounds like that's what I need. So table set on mine is blue. So I hit the blue second button. And then I hit the button that says table set. And it
Hit
should,
the second button and then table set.
yep.
Second button. Second table set.
It
Yes,
should
it did.
awesome. And our table here that we were looking at number, what number is this? Started at 0, so the first part's good. But we didn't go by tens, we went up by 1. So I'm going to hit 1, enter. So it changes it to match my actual table.
Mine says -2, so I think I did something wrong
Well,
somewhere.
it's okay. Which one says -2? The table start or the triangle table?
Yes.
Well,
Table start.
Your table start says -2. So
Yes, ma'am.
arrow up to where that -2 is and type in 0, enter.
0. 0.
Should replace the
Okay.
-. And what is the one below
Yes,
it?
ma'am.
Your triangle table.
1.
Mhm.
It's that one.
Perfect. And I'll show you something that we could have done if we hadn't fixed the start. There's a way to you could scroll through tables. I'm finally ready to see the table. It's a blue one above graph. It says table above graph. I'm going to hit second table. And there's my chart.
Can you tell me that one more time?
Second table. So the second button, and then again, I think it's the far right button to give you
and
something.
then what do I do after that?
You should just hit second table and it should pop up.
It took me to a error syntax.
Okay. Let's go to your equation real quickly. Go to your Y equals. And go to where the minus sign is in the middle there, arrow over, and make sure you did the minus that's on the gray buttons. It's below the times button. Make sure you did minus there.
I did the minus.
Okay, and everything else looks exactly the same as mine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's check your table again. So second table set to make sure that looks good. Make sure like the auto isn't changed anything weird. That make sure those both say auto.
It looks just like that now.
Okay. One more thing. Let's try to see the table again. If it gives you an error, we have one more thing we can fix. Hit second graph, and that should give you the table.
It still brought me to
Give
an
me an
error.
Okay, go back to the Y equals. I have 2 things we can look for. And if neither of these things work, I'll show you how to reset it after class. Use your arrows to scroll down and make sure there's not something weird typed in like in Y9 or Y10. Because there's actually numbers below here.
Oh yes, my Y9.
Clear it, hit clear.
My Y9 sign.
And that happens. I don't know how that happens, but it happens. So hit clear. And now hitting second table or second graph should give you the table.
It did. Yes, thank you.
Yay.
So that's the one that's exactly the same numbers we got. And again, yours will be longer. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is if you had started at -2 by mistake, that's okay. You can keep scrolling until you get to 0 and 1. Like let's say they asked me 20 years. Oh, that'd be bad. It'd be negative value. Let's say they asked me 11 years. I can scroll all around this table till I get answers. At 11 years, the car will be worth $500. And then we kind of stop once it gets to 0. Isn't that an awesome calculator?
It really is.
I love it. Okay. Like I said, remind me we have the one we have to come back to. Determine the probability of selecting an 8 from the hand of cards shown. Round to the nearest 100. I'm kind of curious because I don't remember if they want. I will accept percents or decimals unless for some reason they say something very specific. But I'm just going to cheat and peek at the answer real quickly and see what they tell us. I just want to see what if they went decimal, but I would take a percent on that as well. All right, so how many 8s are in that deck, in that hand of cards?
3.
Yep, 3 8s. Out of how many cards?
7.
Perfect. Now, they're asking me to round to the nearest hundredth, so I either need a decimal or a percent. Leaving it as a fraction would not help because that makes the last set of directions make no sense. If you're stuck on your table, hit second mode or second quit, that'll get you out of there. To figure out the decimal or the percent, I'm going to take 3 divided by 7.
Where's quit?
It's second mode. It's right next to the second button,
Oh, thank you.
which I think they did well. This is why I like the TI. There's actually logic behind how things are put in there. The Casio is bizarre. You have to use all these different like function things. It's just weird. So my answer is 0.428 with a bunch of stuff. Well, they told me to round to the nearest hundredth, so that's gonna be 0.43 or 43%. Questions? I think there are 2 probability ones. There's this one and then there's another one's pretty similar, which is why my numbers.
How do you? I'm sorry. How do you put the 3?
3
Is
divided
that
by 7.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I probably missed this. All the.
No, and I like that you're asking that because I have a lot of students who don't like fractions. They're really thrown up by fractions. It's just division. That's all it means. So I like that you're asking that.
I actually looked up how to how to enter a fraction into
The
my
graphic.
calculator, and it literally just said just do division. I was like, oh,
And you know why that is? It's because we didn't have it until about 5 years ago. So and when a student showed me like 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, oh, cool. Where I know it and someone else has found somewhere else, but the place I always knew it was alpha y equals. So you hit the green alpha and then the y equals, and that takes you to your fraction menu. Regular fraction, mixed number, converting. Someone else found it somewhere else though, and I can't remember where they found it. Maybe somewhere more logically than I did. What if it's under math?
The last calculator I had an actual fraction button that you
Yep.
could hit.
Yep.
Make it a
I
fraction.
remember those ones. Yep, it was
The TI-30 still does. Most scientific calculators do. And like I said, the graphing ones never had it. They finally built it in. So I'm like, yay, fractions is cool. All right. This one, we're gonna do all of the, even if there's only 3 blanks in here, I think you might have to do all of them. So we're gonna do all of them. You do not have to calculate standard deviation. It is given to you. The mean is 12, so that number gets written right on the little middle part there. If you were there at class last week, you saw this was not challenging. It's even find the standard deviation is not hard, you just memorize it. And then to move to the right, I have to add the standard deviations. I have to say 12 plus 1.5. What does that give me? Yep.
13.5.
And then let's assume there was a blank on the next one too. I hate how my 5's turning out. 15. Thank you. I'm gonna fix my 5 there real quick. And then one more time. My 5s are terrible. One of the issues I can't write small.
We get the idea.
And then I'm writing on my screen. I'm not even using a mouse. You guys do so beautifully with your mouse. And you have a pen, but I'm not using the pen right now because I have Parkinson's and the pen picks up the tremor a little more than my finger does. All right, one more. Add one.
Have you tried?
I'm sorry.
It's a personal. Have you tried CBD? I know it's a personal question, but I've heard that it really helps.
I have a card. I have a medical card. I don't use it often. And I actually do a lot of drug trials for Parkinson's. And I find it funny because they tell you can't use the medical marijuana if you're on the trials. And part of me is like, oh, they recognize that it does, there's a benefit because they don't want it to confound the results with whatever medicine you're trying. So I finished a trial this July that was wonderful for me. I just have to wait and see what the results are for everybody else. And if it's beneficial, they will let me go back on it like in January. So fingers crossed.
Oh, good.
I'm at almost six years since my diagnosis, so I'm doing pretty well.
And then that with your medical card will hopefully help a lot.
Yeah. I'm on levodopa right now, and it helps. If I don't feel well, it's worse. So like something like with my shot knocking me out, my tremor will be worse. And it's just. Yeah, I fell for the first time this weekend in like 2 years. I don't fall often now. I used to fall all the time before my diagnosis, but now I'm afraid to because my doctor's always said, "Did you fall? Did you fall?" And it was raining. I slipped on something, but it still bothered me. All right, one more time. We have to add 1.5. So 15 plus 1.5. What's the very last one there? The 3 standard deviations.
16.5.
16.5. And those of you going on to stat 1315 or any stat will do more of this. I think it's kind of fun. To go to the left, I start back at the 12 and I do what operation to move to the left?
Divide or not
Subtract.
subtract.
Subtract. So take 12 minus 1.5.
Mikey, relax, baby.
What do you get?
10.5.
Do it again to get the second standard deviation.
9.
And do it one more time.
7.5.
Some of these are easier to do in your head and some of them are not.
Mikey, you don't need my pen.
So
When it's 0.5s, it's really easy to do in your
Yeah.
head.
some of the others, the one they introduce you with, that they introduce all with you with the inches and feet. I'm like, that's just ugly in terms of arithmetic. So they're going to ask you some questions. They may ask you more than just one. This problem only asked you between 10.5 and 13.5. Before I even start answering these questions, I want to talk about the fact, like we did last time, that mathematicians are lazy and they will write as little as possible. So they give you this beautiful normal curve with the empirical rule. That's what the percents are inside. But they don't tell you these little tiny tails. And you might need them. If I ask you what's the probability that's greater than 16.5, you're going to need that percent, or greater than 15, or less than 9, or less than, so we need that percent. So what you do is you add up all the percents they give you. So take a minute and add all the percents that are actually typed into the empirical curve for you, and then tell me what that total is. And my screen is still sharing, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. My little usually tells me that it is, and it disappeared. Should be something below.
99.7.
Yeah, 99.7. And I think that's what it will always be in this class. It's not writing. Why are we not okay.
So then we're left with 0.3 and we have to divide that in half.
Yep, perfect.
What did you say? You do what?
So we're left with 0.3 and then we have to divide the 0.3 in half. So each of the little edges are 0.15.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
trying to write it, but it's lagging on me. So we total up to be 99.7. In the math world, in any world, you generally start with 100% of something. So I'm gonna take 100 minus the 99.7. And that's where she'll suck at the 0.3 that you got.
Oh, okay.
It's lagging. I'll follow it. It should show up in a second. And that's not a me issue, it's my computer, or I think it's my Wi-Fi issue. And then because we're splitting that equally between the two tails, we divide that by 2. I'm writing them in there. And I would do that for any time you have a problem it's not written in, go ahead and write it in. I think I have an extra, I gotta look at that. When I can't see them right, yeah, I messed that up. I knew I did. When I can't see them writing, I mess things up. Here's the eraser.
I'll divide it by 2.
Yeah, just so we're splitting it evenly between the two tails. I have seen empirical rule, not in this class, but in other places where it's not just 34 in the middle. They sometimes do 34.1 and they may do some more specific decimals. So don't just memorize that it's 0.15, memorize how we found it. You know, add up what percents they give you, subtract from 100, and then split that equally between what's missing. I just find it funny that it's 2 more, they gave all these percents, but not the last 2. And then you see they asked a question here. They asked me what percent is between 10.5 and 13.5. So I drop a line at 10.5. I drop a line at 13.5, and I add up everything between those. And I don't know if you're at 68%, 0.68. I've even had a few students do fractions. I have some who give me all the answers. And I did write it, it's coming, I promise. So a kind of quick check that maybe you've done something wrong is if they ask you for what percent of trees are between 10.5 and 13.5, and you don't have those numbers written down at the bottom at all. It's probably a sign that you've done something weird with your addition at the bottom. Because they have to ask you about numbers that are at the bottom of this curve. They can't ask you like, what percent is above 11? We could get sort of an estimate, but it wouldn't be great. Questions on the normal distribution? All right, this one, I love expected value, but I've had 5 years to teach it, so I enjoy it. I've learned to enjoy it. You are going to multiply the first 2 columns. So -2 times 1, 6. 6 times 2, 6. 7 times 3, 6. Let's get our trusty little calculator. And try to clear it just so it doesn't look messy. The outcome was -2. Make sure you do the negative at the bottom, not the minus sign on the side. If you do the one on the side, you'll notice it pulls an ANS, so it's doing something else. Times 1, 6. And this is where you could either use the built-in fraction stuff or do what we did for years. So times 1 divided by 6. I promise I'm pushing them, and I can even see the buttons pushing on my screen. So we have -0.333333. So I am over here going to write negative. I'm going to write a bunch of them for now because I know it's the more I write, the more accurate my answer will be.
Okay, now I did it.
Questions on where that number came from? And you could write it as a fraction. You could write it as -2 or 6. Let me show you that too. That might be easier than these weird decimals. -2 times 1 is -2, and the bottom stays 6. And I'm just going to leave it there that way in a second. We'll show you how you add the decimals or how you add the fractions. So without the calculator, to do the next one, if I'm going to write as a fraction, 6 times 2 is 12, and I put that over 6. To do it by decimal, I am going to do 6 times 2 over 6. And again, I'm old school. I'm just using the division sign. If you like the pretty fractions, you can, oh, that was cool. That's a nice one. That's just 2. Same thing. You can work with the fraction here. 7 times 3 is 21. And then we keep the 6. 6 right here. Or we could do 7 times 3 over 6 in the calculator. 7 times 3 over 6. And my calculator spits out 3.5. That's a pretty nice number too. I'm going to show you if I add these up. These are kind of nice because I can add them in my head. -2 plus 12 is 10. 10 plus 21 is 6. That gives me 31 over 6. And at that point, I probably do want to divide it out. Take 31 divided by 6. And then you get 5.166666. They're talking money, so I'd say 5.17. So this is a good game. You're expected to win. Same thing with the decimals. That's a horrible looking decimal. $5.17 is your expected value. Or we could do it with the decimals. We could do the negative 0.3333. Let's write a bunch of them. That should be enough. Plus 2 plus 3.5. Always misses my decimal when I type it. And I hit enter. And I will still get $5.17, whichever way I do it. Questions? There's one of these independent and dependent variables. So you ask yourself, does the temperature depend on how many people go to the pool? Or does the number of people at the pool depend on what the temperature outside is?
The temperature, or the people are dependent on the temperature of the pool.
So number of people are dependent. The temperature outside is the independent. That's the part that's changing. So yeah, if I were to ask you, are you going to the pool today? Most of you would probably say no. And I'd say, why? And you say it's too cold out. So the temperature told you that you weren't going to the pool. You didn't say, well, I think it's 80 degrees outside because I'm going to the pool. So which sentence makes better sense?
Ma'am, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I have to go get in line to pick my kid up, but thank you
okay.
very much. I'll see you tomorrow.
So you're good. Yep, I'll be here again tomorrow. So
Thank
have
you.
a good day.
You too.
13 is explaining the difference between an empirical and theoretical probability. I learned empirical. The word I learned from empirical was experimental. I learned theoretical and experimental. Still an E word, so it's similar, but I think it tells you a little more what it is. Theoretical is what you should get. If I flip a coin 10 times, I should get 5 heads and 5 tails. That's theoretical. Empirical is I actually flip the coin and I write down the numbers, and I may get 7 heads and 3 tails. I may get all heads and 0 tails. It could happen. It's unlikely, but it could happen. So you can give me examples with numbers. You can do the briefest explanation is theoretical is what you should get, empirical is what you actually got. Any questions on those? We got to go back and do our conversion one. I think that's the only one we've missed. Yes, there's, I'm going to bring, it's 41. I need to take a picture of it because I'll forget by the time I get to the whiteboard. I just have to remember what they're asking us to convert to. 41,000 feet per second. They're asking us to go to miles per hour. Okay, I should be able to remember that. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Go ahead and save this just in case anyone decides they want the right. I can actually upload it to you right now. All right, stop my share. Let me put that in the chat just in case you want, because that one has a little more detail than what the one on Blackboard has. I think it's time to dump most of the stuff off my computer. I think I have too much. Why does it keep defaulting to this? It keeps defaulting like, I don't like the way it's showing. I'm not getting my options on how to sort it. It's just change my view. Change my view. Let's change my view. I want details. There we go. Perfect. Took me a second to find it. Sorry about that. And so much spam. Somewhere, maybe political calls. I haven't answered this. So there's the document we just did. I'm going to go ahead and share the whiteboard. All right. So now I need to find my picture. We are taking 41,000 feet per second. So I'm going to draw my grid. I hate when it just disappeared on me. They've updated the whiteboard. Let's try to see if I'm going to bring it back that way. And you know, don't I move it? It made my stuff go in. I don't know why. All right, let me stop sharing and do it again. It's just a pain. Like I said, they've upgraded. I think it's probably better. I just need to learn how to use it. Share screen. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is draw my table in here. Yeah, nice straight line. Should be straight line. It's roughly straight. And I start with what they gave me, and they told me it was 41,000. I'm gonna find it. 41,000 feet per second. So I start with that. 41,000 feet per second means feet are on top, seconds are on the bottom. They're asking me to convert this into miles per hour. So I'm going to write myself a little note. I'm trying to get to miles per hour. And then they tell you in the problem that 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So we will need to use that. This is a double conversion. You have 2 things that you need to cancel out. You want to make feet go away and turn into miles. You want to make hours go away or seconds go away and turn into hours. It does not matter which one you do first. If you have followed kind of the way I've modeled it, I usually do the top first. So feet are on top. Where do feet need to go so they cancel out?
The bottom.
On the bottom. So we're gonna put feet on the bottom. And thankfully this problem did tell me about feet and miles. The problem told me that 1 mile was 5,280 feet. This is what's new. Stuff is me trouble. So feet cancel. I am left with miles, which is exactly where I want to be. So I'm halfway done. Yay, halfway done. Now I want seconds to go, seconds to go away and be left with hours. Some people know the conversion between seconds and hours. I don't. I can make seconds bigger. Hours are bigger than seconds, so I know I can make seconds bigger by turning it into minutes. Seconds is on the bottom. Where does it need to go so it cancels out?
Top.
Top, yeah.
And it is 3,600.
Okay, and I'm gonna do in 2 steps, but if you're comfortable with that, do it. I'm gonna go seconds to minutes, and we'll go minutes to hours, just because I know that part throws people sometimes. We know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So if I cross off my seconds, I'm a little bigger, but I'm not done yet. Now minutes is on the bottom. Where does minutes have to go from? So it cancels out.
Up.
Up. And this one that we are assuming that you know that's the conversions between time. We know that there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. So now minutes cancels. I'm left with hours. That's exactly where I wanted to be. And I'm in a good place now because the rest is just throwing it in my calculator. So I multiply everything. I'm going to change my color. The right color. I'm going to circle everything on top. And I'm going to throw it in my calculator. I'm just going to use my cell phone calculator for this one. It's going to be a very, 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 very big number. So 41,000 times 1 times either 60 times 60 or times 3,600. That's where that's coming from. I did it again. The cell phone calculators are very temperamental. I'm getting 147,600,000. Do we agree?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's always a good thing. Bottoms are usually easier. It's a bunch of ones and a 5280. So I'm going to take that really big number that I got divided by 5280. Divided by 5280. And they asked me to round to the nearest whole number on this. So it's 27,955. You got to round up. Yeah, it was 54 point something. And that is in miles per hour. And I actually kind of like these problems because I don't have a good concept of how fast something is when it's in feet per second. In my mind, that could be anything. It could be really slow. It could be really fast. But by converting it, I do understand miles per hour. I know that I feel fast when I'm going 80 miles an hour. So I know 27,955 miles per hour is really fast. Questions, if you want, feel free to take a picture of this one. And that is the review. Make sure you have a calculator with you. They will not let you use your cell phone calculator. They will erase your memory in your calculator, which is not a big deal right now. It will be when we get to the final, but I'll show you how to fix that. I can turn my camera back on too. And then I have to figure out this recording, how I save it and send it to you guys. I'll try to do that or post it on Blackboard. Any questions I can answer?
Nope.
Go
Go ahead.
So you said that there was a practice. Is this like for
That is the
midterm?
practice. It's not, yeah.
Okay.
It's on Blackboard. You could print a blank one and do it again.
Okay. Okay, cool.
And you can come tomorrow at 6 if you want, or Thursday at 10 or Thursday at 2.
Thursday at 10 is when I'm taking my midterm.
Good, good. Anything I can answer for anybody? All right. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week when we start chapter 3. Chapter 3 is kind of fun because it fits together a little better. It's all equations, solving, graphing, writing, that kind of stuff. So, all right. I will see you next week. Have a good week. Good luck on your test. Let me know if there's any issues.
Feel better.